Following a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. It's Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Welcome, class, to Ghoul School. Unfortunately, Professor Ludmilla Fungus is a mushroom. And mushrooms can't teach. So, please welcome your substitutes.
Hello and welcome to another period at the Ghoul School. I am your first host, Brian Snyder Stork.
And I am Zack Snyder's Nolan Vanoy. I was purchased by him in 2016.
And I'm Caroline. This isn't a comic book movie night.
Honestly, that is like the best way to sum up the way that this movie, going into this movie, the way it feels. Wait, it's a Zack Snyder movie that's not based off of a comic or a graphic novel?
But what is this movie?
I don't know.
This movie is a zombie movie. It's a zombie movie.
I parsed that from the title, but I know literally nothing else about it.
We haven't said the title yet.
Oh. It's Army of the Dead.
We're talking about the brand new Netflix movie called Army of the Dead.
Woo.
It is Zack Snyder's first movie post Justice League. Mm-hmm. He directed it for Netflix for a budget of $90 million in the hopes of starting a new franchise at Netflix. He has parted ways with Warner Brothers after the whole Justice League situation.
Shocking.
And how all that went down. And so he currently, I think he might have a deal at Netflix that pretty much everything that he works on is going to go through, it's going to go through them.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. And so it's a zombie movie. So he's kind of going back to his roots. He did a remake of Dawn of the Dead. It was his first movie, back in 2004. That's really, really good. And so I was definitely very excited that he was going back to the zombie genre. Mm-hmm. Brian, what are your thoughts about Zack Snyder?
The genre.
I think that Zack Snyder is fascinating because he's probably the only director that I can think of immediately where when you say that you like one of his movies, you have to preface it by saying that you know that there are things that show that he directed it in them and you don't like those parts. But you do like the movie overall. Like, I feel like a lot of times you have to be like... Because, like, I really liked Zack Snyder's 4-hour Justice League. But I have to preface it by saying there is a lot of unnecessary slow motion. There's some weird moments that could very easily have been cut out. Some of these characters are weird. Like, you have to have those statements in there. So I go back and forth on Zack Snyder a lot.
Yeah, I do as well. So Brian and I, quick little plug for you, have another podcast called Comic Breakers where we talk about comic book movies and TV shows. And we did a really extensive review of Justice League, the Snyder Cut, after we watched it. Yeah. And we basically kind of landed at wow, this is a really, really good movie. But it's got those Zack Snyder things. And that's definitely, I saw this Army of the Dead, I saw it 2 weeks ago in the theaters. It was the second movie I've seen in a theater since the pandemic, which definitely made it a great experience. But, Caro, do you have an opinion on Zack Snyder?
Listen. I have ADHD. So most of his movies are actually pain.
Yeah.
For me. But I enjoy the freneticness of a lot of his directing choices. I think that he's an interesting guy. I haven't seen a ton of his work. I did not watch the 4-hour Justice League cut because I feel like if I tried to do that, I might melt.
That's fair.
Yeah. You might. Knowing you might melt. I think Zack Snyder is the Baz Luhrmann of action movies.
Yes! That makes so much sense for some reason.
Yeah. That it's.
But for the same reasons that I like Baz Luhrmann movies sometimes, is the same type of energy that I feel about some Zack Snyder movies. Is that it's just it's just the chaoticness of the decision-making process that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Listen, Sucker Punch, if you go into it with the right mindset, kind of fucks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've only seen Sucker Punch at 3 a.m. when I wasn't the one who turned it on. I've never actively sought out Sucker Punch, but I've seen it three or four times.
No, I really like Sucker Punch.
I think it's a good time.
Until this movie, until Army of the Dead, Sucker Punch was Zack Snyder's only original live-action movie.
That's
incredible.
Insane.
Well, and he made a Dawn of the Dead remake. So he was basically just like, okay, we take Dawn of the Dead and we make an army of the dead?
So,
which is the most Zack Snyder
not
thing.
Incredibly original is what I'm saying.
Well, onto the title here, Army of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think it's about?
All right, I'm ready. So I think that there's a guy and his name is Zack, not related to Zack Snyder,
right?
But a bit of a self-insert, and he's your normal banker dad who's got 5 kids and a wife he doesn't like very much, and he's like, my life is so boring. I'm living in my normal house with my normal life and my normal kids. You know what I should do? I should take over the world. So the man starts to sort of lose it, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna invest in this really left field technology that's supposed to resurrect dead bodies. And he invests in that to the point that they finally make a zombie person, and it takes over the whole country. But since he's the one who invested in it, he has the most control over the company, and then he makes an Army of the Dead at the end.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of a Mark Zuckerberg situation.
A bit of a social network vibe.
It's about Mark Zuckerberg. It's a bit of an allegory for how we're all zombie slaves to Mr. Facebook.
And it still also features Jesse Eisenberg screwing over Andrew Garfield.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jesse Eisenberg is the dad, and Andrew Garfield is the scientist.
Andrew Garfield is the son.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say
Andrew Garfield's the scientist that Jesse Eisenberg buys out of his own invention. So there's my movie coming to theaters near you.
I'd watch it, I think.
So Brian, what do you think it's about?
I think that Army of the Dead. So here's one of the only things I know about Army of the Dead is that I know Dave Bautista's in it, and I know that he also at the same time was petitioning really hard to play Bane at DC. So I think that most of Army of the Dead is kind of a basic zombie survival movie where every so often Dave Bautista will kind of sprint onto set wearing a makeshift Bane mask and the big jacket from The Dark Knight Rises, and he'll just start delivering Bane lines, and he'll be calling characters. He'll be calling them Batman, and they'll all just have to kind of trying to keep the movie on track while Dave Bautista just kind of Banes around for about 2.5 hours.
So is it a character in the universe that has gone insane and thinks he's Bane, or is it just Dave Bautista?
Well, they kind of had to rewrite the script.
Yeah, well, you see, because you think that he's a character in the universe, but then there is a moment at about the 2 hour and 25-minute mark where Zack Snyder finally comes on set, and he's like, "Dave, you gotta stop."
5 minutes from the end.
Yeah, well, he tries to hang in there for as long as he can, but then obviously it's all one shot. And then Dave Bautista, he actually goes, "I am not Dave. This is Bane now." And then he puts Zack Snyder in a headlock, and then that's the last 5 minutes.
That's kind of fun.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait, how long is this movie, Nolan?
It is 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Wow, I really nailed that.
Guys.
What did you, Caro?
Guys.
What did you, Caro? What
so
did you
long.
expect?
Guys, I have such bad ADHD, and a little insight for our listeners. We just graduated college, and I'm gonna be real with y'all. Ever since graduation, I've been sleeping uncontrollably, and I can't pay attention to anything for more than 4 seconds because all the academic stress has left my body.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a fun thing for me.
This is our first post-college graduation movie now.
Yeah.
Our first episode that we're doing this. This is
Absolutely.
we are now no longer students. We are now unemployed. So that's
Which
fun.
means you have to pay us.
You specifically, whoever you listening right now,
Yes.
I'm talking to you.
Not our general listeners.
No.
The person who is listening to this
Okay,
right
so
now.
a log line for this movie. After a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble by venturing into the quarantine zone for the greatest heist ever.
Oh, it's a heist movie?
It's a gambler
Hell
movie.
yeah,
Oh,
hell yeah, it's a heist movie.
I'm so
That's
excited.
great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Yep.
I'm
So,
ready for a zombie
Are we
heist.
ready? Are we
Yeah.
ready to just the three of us take on an army of the dead?
Yes,
Yeah.
and also Bane.
And also
right, what's your
spooky
we-
dark
okay.
spell.
Spooky dark.
No, not yet, not yet,
Hold
not
on,
yet. Now,
Spooky, hold on,
spooky,
hold on.
go away.
Hold on.
Spooky, go away.
Spooky, hide.
Not yet.
Okay, she's
If
hiding.
we had to take on an army of the dead,
Yeah.
what's your weapon of choice?
Steel chair. Next question.
Spooky dark spell is my weapon.
I will be going with. I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take some nails and put it in my guitar, but actually just
Ooh.
one nail, and just have that sticking out of the body of the guitar, and just like start whacking
Start
zombies with
bonking
it.
people.
That's pretty good. That's a fun
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's like a spiked bat, but higher stakes.
But
Yeah.
higher stakes and not as effective. Anyway,
Nope.
spooky dark spell. Take it away.
So, I might be the only one, but I genuinely like this movie.
Right.
I like it a lot.
I conditionally like this movie very much.
This movie.
I like this movie if 45 minutes of it were gone.
Yeah, I think it does definitely suffer from the length, which is, but man, it's just there's parts of it that I like so goddamn much, and then there's so many parts of it where I'm like, this is really bad, and they're
The
almost
first 30 minutes.
yeah. It's I like wait in the like or dislike column.
Dislike.
I think the first 30 minutes are just fine. I like the first
Yeah,
30
I
minutes.
don't have a lot of problems. Talk about your problems with the first 30 minutes.
So, I mean, I would rather the movie have gone. We see the opening title sequence, which is kind of dope. It's like the zombie apocalypse unfolding in slow motion in the title sequence.
Yeah,
it's kind of great.
in Las
Well,
Vegas.
Yeah.
Yes.
To a wonderful version of Viva Las Vegas sung by Richard
Yeah.
Cheese and Alison Crowe.
Yeah.
Really lovely.
It's very fun. But then, like, I feel like we spend a lot of time futzing around with Dave Bautista just working at a burger shop, and then it's like, oh, well, he's got this decision to make.
There's
and, oh,
only
well,
one scene of him at the burger shop.
Well,
it's like
yeah,
it's
but
like
then it's like
1 minute long.
He spends a lot of time thinking about it instead of just like the putting together of the team and him like trying to think about it takes forever.
I will
Well-
say I don't think that thinking about it takes a long time. I do think like for instance his scene at the like the car shop with I forget I don't remember the character's name. Like that goes on a little bit long because
Yeah.
you don't really know who she is. So I think it would have been served a little bit better if he just had a couple scenes of putting together the team, but they're short and sweet, like with the locksmith and like with the
Yeah,
helicopter
the locksmith
pilot.
one is great.
I think
Yeah, it's really good.
I think throughout the team building montage of putting together, because basically the heist is Vegas has been overrun by zombies. It's been cordoned off with a big wall, and they're gonna drop a nuke on it in a couple days, so they can go in. It's such a good sentence. So they can
really
go
is.
in, they can get the money out of one of the casino vaults, and then they'll be rich as long as they get out before the bomb goes off and they don't get killed by zombies.
Yeah.
Yep.
A great
So,
concept, but I
Excellent
think
It's
concept, yeah.
incredible.
I think I think that the team building section really speaks to kind of what my main problem is with this movie, and it's I still respect it because I think there is a way to do it well, but I don't think this quite nails it, which is you're putting together a zombie movie and a heist movie, which are on as far as like tonality goes, opposite ends of the spectrum. I think at least the kind of zombie movie that this is, because this is the kind of zombie movie where it's like, oh, all of these people's families are dead and everyone's really sad most of the time and they all are deeply traumatized and anyone could die at any moment, which just does not gel with the fun of a heist. Because even you see it in the team building where it's like, oh, there's moments of like really fun, like, oh, bringing in who the safecracker is, who's this delightful German man, and like bringing in
you, Brian, it's you.
Yeah, and
it's precisely Brian.
And bringing in, I do think of myself as a delightful German man. Thank you. Yep. And bringing in the helicopter pilot who agrees immediately without anyone saying anything, which is really fun. But in between all of that, there's like these characters having these horribly traumatic like flashbacks of them having to stab their wives in the head and stuff. And it's like, you can't, like, I can't be having fun with the team building while I'm getting subjected to this every few minutes, you know?
Yeah. I think that probably is where, for me, the movie works about like 80% of the time. Yeah. And the 20% that it doesn't work is when you're doing the very serious emotional relationship stuff. Like, I think there's a way to have Scott, Dave Bautista's character, and his daughter have that relationship and not have the scene. Some of the scenes work pretty well. Some of them don't. It just can't be as sort of, I guess melodramatic is the word for it. Yeah. In that regard. But you have like these really great relationship things like between Dieter, the locksmith guy, and Vanderho, like the
best relationship in the movie. Guy. The best relationship.
So
my God.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
They're so in love.
And it's because that's the most, I don't know if stylish is the right word, but I think that the problem with the like the father-daughter stuff, which is a lot of what this movie hangs on, and very much the, I guess it was supposed to be a will they won't they thing between Dave Bautista and the female lead.
That's the worst part for the movie for me.
For 30 seconds it was a will they won't they.
Right.
I thought they were just buddies. Like I 100% thought they were just like best friends.
That's why for me that's the worst part of the movie.
Yeah.
In like 30 seconds and I was just so baffled.
And it cheapens, and just to, so the female lead, the oh God, wait, I'm blanking on his name. He's a massive actor, and he's the second in command in Ocean's 11. What's his name?
In Ocean's 11?
Yeah, in Ocean's 11. He's George Clooney's second, his best friend.
Brad Pitt?
Yes, Brad Pitt. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ,
I
Brian.
lost the name Brad Pitt.
I'm keeping that. Keeping that in the podcast.
No, keeping it.
I didn't think you would forget Brad Pitt. That's why I was so confused.
I literally lost the name Brad Pitt. But anyway, so she's Brad Pitt in this.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because this movie it's following the Ocean's 11 blueprint, except, like, imagine watching, like, if you want, do you want to watch Ocean's 11, except every few minutes one of them just very unceremoniously dies a horrible and pointless death.
Painful death.
And then it just continues? Like, you don't.
Here's the thing, though. I think, honestly, if that scene, instead of them talking about like a romantic connection, if they were talking about the fact that they were good buddies, there is evidence earlier in the film for the fact that they're good buddies, and it would make that death actually really work pretty well. Yeah. And like, for instance, when Dieter closes the vault on Vanderho, like it works really well. Yeah. Yeah, and the relationship is built there.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, and I think that there was no romantic tension between them, whether that was a script thing or an actor chemistry thing. I don't know.
I think it's a script thing because it's just not there. Like there's no scenes of that being a thing. Yeah. So
it's not there for the whole movie, and then it is, and then immediately isn't because she dies.
Brutal death, also.
A brutal, horrible death that is hard to look at.
And almost played for laughs in a weird way. Like it's...
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I don't think this movie knows what its tone is at any point.
This movie wants to be splatstick, but also wants us to care about these characters that are dying, and we can't have both.
It's a movie where in the opening titles there are Vegas showgirls with the, like, partial nudity running around as zombies, and also there are what are supposed to be like Renaissance paintings of like zombies and stuff, and I don't it doesn't nail having both of those in the same movie. It doesn't earn
See,
that.
I would
me-
disagree about that. I think where it just fails on the sort of Lifetime movie Oscar-winning drama sections of the film, like the scenes talking about like, I wasn't angry at you because you had to kill mom. Like that stuff didn't click at all.
Yeah.
I do think like the scenes with King Zombie and Queen Zombie, where you have these kind of like
hell yeah.
I thought they were fucking sick.
Yeah.
I loved those personally.
I would have liked them more if the stuff around it wasn't jerking me around so much.
Yes, I think the best way to improve this movie is to eliminate a lot of the beginning parts with the quarantine camp also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
well,
that-
that's another storyline that doesn't work
Yes.
for me.
It's
Like
a huge tonal mismatch.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is with the context of watching it these days and like having a lot of, viral refugees from COVID-19.
Yeah.
This image of like these people crowded on the outskirts of a quarantine zone is not one that can be taken lightly in the slightest.
Yeah.
well, it's
Well,
unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate because it was also shot like months before COVID actually hit
Yeah.
as well.
And even
It's
more than
unfortunate,
that,
but it could have been cut out of the movie is the thing. They had time to cut it out, and it
It
would
should
have
have been
saved them.
cut out of the movie regardless of COVID, in my
Yes,
opinion.
it
When-
would have saved them a lot of time that we spend doing nothing there, and then it would have saved them, that awkward tension of this is too
Too
close
real.
to home at the moment.
well, and even more than that, like the stuff that happens in that camp, like the I don't know why, and it feels like it's kind of common, at least in the stuff that Zack Snyder's movies pull from, where he really thinks that we'll have a good time with just like this weird like rape stuff that he
Yeah.
like it's so prevalent in this, and I get that they're trying to put in a character where he's such a horrible guy that we'll enjoy seeing him get carried off, or at least feel that it's justified. Or I don't think it ever pays off enough to justify spending so much time on like that. Like why?
Yeah.
You can't have a fun heist movie that's also like got a bunch of implied sexual assault in it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
to
and stated.
some extent,
And stated, yeah,
stated.
explicit.
I mean, like, to some extent, I think like I get satisfaction of him getting tied up and then carried off. Like that works.
Yeah.
I think maybe just, and you can have the character and imply that he's this awful dude, and you give Lily the Coyote the scene where she kind of explains it out to everybody that he's this awful dude.
Right.
But maybe we just shouldn't see it so explicitly.
That's yeah. I feel
The
like
only-
if we would have had less of him and more of the innocuous, gross, oh, I hate this guy, he kind of sucks, instead of like, this guy is just absolutely fucking wretched and seeing him do what he's doing is making me sick.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if he was just a shithead, I would have still enjoyed seeing him die.
Maybe even making him like a shitty, like, thinks he's a zombie survivalist just because he's a fucking like mall cop outside the quarantine zone, and then like putting other people in danger and then getting like fucked over for it. Something more like that to make him an asshole instead of just making him a rapist. Like I think that would have made the tone feel a little bit more consistent. Maybe.
Yeah.
This makes me want to talk about my favorite thing in the movie.
Yes.
Zombie Queen.
Yeah.
Zombie Queen.
Yeah.
Her design, her costuming,
so
her
good.
makeup, and her movement as an
performance is really
actress
good.
is absolutely incredible. Which makes me sad that I didn't think Zombie King was as cool, but
Yeah. I liked his
Zombie
his
Queen-
helmet.
I like Zombie
Yeah.
King a lot personally.
Zombie King's helmet is a really interesting thing because like they're just mowing down zombies left and right by the time that they get towards the end of their heist sort of, and then this motherfucker comes out with an iron helmet and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I also like that they never figure out a workaround. They're just like, the arms race ends here. He's got a helmet. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah,
There's
they
nothing
keep
we
trying
can
to
do.
shoot him in the helmet. They realize that it doesn't work, and they keep trying to shoot him in
The
the
helmet
Like,
doesn't have a back.
But it's also
like,
it doesn't have a
get
back.
the helmet off
Yeah.
of him.
yeah, I thought there'd be like a teamwork moment where like one of them distracts him or something, but it's just
And
they
they
just
shoot him
keep
in the back of
going
the
for
head.
the forehead.
You can't hit the brain if you don't hit the forehead, you know, Brian?
You know what? Yeah, you know what's another part that I love, and I think speaks to the real potential of a zombie heist movie, is the part where they're trying to figure out how to set off all of the death traps to get to the vault.
Yes.
And they just keep bringing down zombies to like try to get them to walk through and then like
Use
hit
as,
stuff.
like, fodder
and like
for
the zombies just
machines.
immediately turn around and start trying to go to them, so they have to like microwave a hand and throw it across the room. Like I think that
fun.
kind of
So
stuff
good.
is so fun and so funny.
But that's so Brian Stork. Like that is a scene that you would write, Brian.
Oh, it's incredible, and I think that little team building moment between German friend and the hot one.
Yeah.
I don't know their names, by the way.
Ivanhoe. Or right?
Ivanhoe.
Is it Ivanhoe?
Vanderhoe.
Vanderhoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ivanhoe and the German one.
Such a conspicuous name that it has to be some kind of anagram that Zack Snyder snuck in there,
Yeah.
but I don't care enough to
Yeah.
go switch it around.
I will continue to refer to him as the hot one because he is the hot one.
Yeah.
He is quite hot.
But he and German friend like start off as enemies and end as lovers? ?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like they end up bonding by just trying to get these fucking zombies to go across these death traps.
Yeah.
And it's very wholesome. And like more moments like that I think would have lent into the fun that I was having with this movie. I will say there are 2 death scenes that I think fit the zombie heist movie. It was satisfying even though you were like, oh, I hate that they're dying, but it was like for the greater good.
Right.
And that was the first girl who died.
Yeah.
She's fucking badass.
Her whole sequence
awesome.
is so fucking cool.
It's so good.
She's so cool.
she
and like
barely
gets fucked
has-
over by this guy who's like an agent, and he
And that
poses
pays off really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, who ends up getting torn to shreds by a zombie tiger, which the zombie tiger fucking rules.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Um,
one of the zombie queen kind of leads directly into zombie tiger. That's like a white tiger. It's so good. I just love it so
They
much.
even
Doesn't
say
have half a face.
Yeah.
they even say it was owned by Siegfried and Roy,
Yeah,
which
so
is
funny.
funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Zombie King, I think is a lot of fun because knowing that Netflix is doing other projects in this universe, like there is a prequel about German locksmith guy, directed and starring by a German guy.
Really? Okay.
That he directed and is starring in. About
That's
him,
so
I guess,
exciting.
being like a lockpicker, and somehow, I guess zombies will tie into
No,
it.
I would love if it had
Yes.
nothing to do with zombies. There's no zombies in it.
But there's also an animated show that's gonna be about the king zombie's name is Zeus. They call him Zeus, and the queen zombie's name is Athena. But there's gonna be an animated prequel about
Wait,
that.
wouldn't it be Hera?
Animated?
What?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
No, it's just called the only. So Zeus is how he's credited in the film, and then the score, it's Zeus and Athena is one of the pieces.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the whole zombie royalty thing is cool. Wait, Kara, you didn't get to finish talking about your second death, right?
Oh my god. So the first death I didn't get to finish talking about either. She's fucking badass. She like goes through this room of like hibernating zombies, I guess. They're just all completely still. And one zombie that she like had to kill because she's like having to silently kill these zombies to not disturb the other ones.
Yeah.
Like knocks over a bunch of pots and like they all swarm her, and then asshole agent guy fucking closes the door on her, and I was so angry, but then like it's further down the line and she fucking busts through a window and is
Yeah,
like, I'm
still alive.
back, bitches.
Yeah.
I really wanted that moment to be like a bit of retribution, to be like, he closed the door on me, he's such a traitor, but
Me too.
she ends up like sacrificing her life for her bud, and it absolutely rules.
I think 2 things that I love about that is, one, she barely has a name. She doesn't even get recruited. She's
Yeah.
one of the friends of one of the main guys on the team, is like a YouTuber who like goes in and shoots zombies and
I
stuff.
kind of like him.
Yeah, I kind of like him
Me
too.
too.
And she's one of his friends, so like that's her whole thing in this, and she just has this awesome extended action sequence. And I also love that this is an example of heist movie plus zombie stuff working really well, like you were saying, in that
It's gorgeous.
It's both the heist going wrong and like someone having to like figure out like some kind of solution to it. and a really
zombies
well
going
put
wrong.
together, a really well put together horror thing where you've got, that pan is eventually going to hit the ground because you see it like tilting
Yeah.
and
Right.
yeah, it's just really well done.
It's a good little moment of directing for sure.
It was
so.
a really
Yeah.
great marriage of genres, which I also think works really well in the second death that I think was really cool, which was the YouTuber friend guy. They're in like the casino part of the casino, like
Yeah.
I
That was
don't know.
good. That was really good.
The geography of this movie doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
It's Vegas. That's just Vegas geography.
Yeah.
It's just they're just in two different casinos basically the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, Dave Bautista is like fucking jumping over poker tables and throwing them at zombies. He like runs out of ammo at one point. It's terrifying. Everybody's running. They got bags full of money.
Yeah.
And then like, what happens? Does his bag like explode or something happens?
I think he just gets caught up to, right?
Yes.
He doesn't run good enough.
Yeah. He gets caught up too. There's money flying everywhere. He's laying like back to the table, looking up at this money like flowing down on him, and he just like smiles. And he's like,
And then he just takes
Yeah,
all the
then-
clips out of the grenades and
Yeah, he pulls
Yeah.
the pins on his grenades and just makes a massive explosion.
as he gets swarmed by like most of the zombies, which helps his friends escape. But like that moment of him just looking up at the falling money in slow motion
cool.
and being
Yeah.
like, hell yeah.
Also, his explosion is kind of a callback to that woman his friend who
Yeah.
who gets blown up. Also,
Yeah, he shoots the gas tank and it
Yeah.
explodes.
so I like both of those.
Those are the only two deaths that actually like I felt like fit the tone of the movie.
I think that we talked about it, we glanced off of it a little bit, but I think that the agent guy who's there as a representative of the person who hired them to steal this money, the guy who betrays the woman and locks her
Yeah.
out, the way that he dies, I think, is very fun and fitting. Where
Yeah,
he for some reason throughout the movie multiple times brings up how much he doesn't like that there's a zombie tiger.
right.
Like very
So much that you're like, oh, he's gonna die.
gonna
obviously
die
he'll
by
be
the
killed by the
zombie
zombie
tiger.
tiger. But it's in such a way that because you dislike him so much that it is fun to be like, yeah, I know what
Yeah.
this is leading to, and I'm excited about it.
Well,
and
he's been
it
fucking
doesn't
them over
disappoint.
in multiple ways. Like he's also the one who cut off the zombie queen's head when
Yeah.
they had meant to just like capture her.
Yeah, which is very Jurassic Park.
Which
Yeah.
made me sad because I like Zombie Queen.
Yeah,
I did too, and I was sad that I was like, if they ever make another like a sequel, which is there a sequel?
I'd imagine so.
If they
they're
do
doing
make a
all this
sequel,
stuff.
then they can't use Zombie Queen because Zombie Queen
Right.
kind of fucking rules. But like the agreement was that he needed a vial of her blood for like some research thing. So they capture her. He is like, okay, I'm gonna do that now, and then cuts off her entire head, and is like holding it around as a trophy after she like screams bloody murder and obviously like summons all the zombies to the fact that she's dead on the ground, and they all get super pissed off.
yeah.
She's also a lot of fun when it's just her head. She's just
Yes.
making
Yeah,
all
'cause
kinds of
it's still
goofy
alive.
faces.
Yeah.
Oh, the head's still alive, and it makes so many fun faces. It's a delight.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about zombie pregnancy?
Yeah, I guess.
guess.
I don't, but I do.
It's something about it makes me feel so. I think it actually, for me, it really works in the movie because it's like, this is really disturbing, but it's
Yeah.
also like tragic, but also
It's
like
heartbreaking.
There is something fun about the fact
It's-
that the
it's super
zombies,
weird.
the zombies are in this like biblical tragedy or whatever that like the heist guys
Yeah.
have no like relationship with. Yeah, where the zombie queen is pregnant
really, like,
and then she dies and then they get the
Zombie
baby
King
out.
and Zombie Queen, like Zombie King and Zombie Queen, like they're really like they're hardly zombies in a way.
Yeah, barely,
like I
yeah.
guess
Yeah.
in definition, like yes, they are undead and they eat people. However, like they're clearly very sentient and emotional and they're smart. Like
Just a preface for the audience, the way that zombies work in this movie is that there are what they call shamblers, which are like your slow, brainless zombies that just kind of mill around like fools.
classic zombies.
Yeah, and then there's like the original zombies that came out of the government safe or whatever the
Well,
fuck at the
one
beginning
of
of the
one
movie.
of them did. The
Yeah.
Zombie King did, and then whoever he
Yeah.
bites becomes like him.
an alpha zombie.
An
yeah.
alpha zombie. So there's a whole population of those that are smarter and faster and stronger and have a lot more cognitive ability, it seems, than the rest of them.
Yeah, these guys
they
are
can like actually make decisions and
Yeah,
such.
they
It's-
literally like. There's one part where he's basically negotiating a hostage situation. Like these
Yes!
guys are pretty much just like really strong guys.
Dead
Like they're
people.
just people. Because
Right.
like they're
just
not
dead
even.
people that are now alive.
Honestly,
also.
they don't even like incredibly seem like cannibals. Like it seems like they only bite people like for the purpose of turning them into more alphas and then stop. Like they just
Right.
do
Yeah.
like one bite and they're like, okay, move along, next person.
Then they have like the feeding of the rest of them.
Yeah, so
But,
they throw
yeah.
them to the rest of them. Yeah.
It's really interesting, which makes the zombie pregnancy situation a lot more like weirdly emotionally resonant,
Yeah.
because it's like they're kind of like people, just like really
Well, you can,
fucked
like,
up weird people.
You can feel that they're like mourning, you know?
yeah.
It
Like-
Which
is-
sucks.
there is something kind of funny about the fact that even the zombies aren't spared in this movie from having a tragic my wife/daughter was killed by zombies or I had to kill them backstory. Like even the zombies get one.
So Zombie Queen gets her head cut off. She was apparently pregnant, and then Zeus, Zombie King Man, takes her body back and rips out the fetus from her gut and holds it up to everyone, and they all scream, and it's horrible.
Yeah, it's really it's truly disturbing, honestly.
It's like disturbing and gut-wrenching at the same time. Like, I don't think I have the words to describe how that made me feel, except for just like, ugh.
I honestly think we have to give props, like a lot of props to Zack Snyder for eliciting such a what the feeling,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Like,
Yeah, that's
that
true.
was probably more emotionally resonant to me than the flashback of Dave Bautista killing his wife.
Oh, for
definitely.
sure. Yeah, 100%.
Because we
definitely.
don't know his wife. It doesn't fucking matter. Yada, yada, yada.
I will say, Dave Bautista is. I really like Dave Bautista in this movie, but
Oh,
in
yeah.
general, but in this movie, he's very charismatic. I think.
He's great. He's great.
He's an absolute delight. I wish he was my father. Except for I really like my dad, but like Dave Bautista in this is just such a sweet dad.
I don't think
You're
anyone
like-
gives a bad performance in this. I don't think anyone's
No.
bad.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
No.
I think the only reason I didn't really like Lady Friend's performance was because she had to say the stupid thing that made me angry, which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that I'm in
Not
love
her
with you,
fault.
and I was like, ah,
Yeah.
that's more of a script issue than a her issue, though.
I also really like that Snyder kind of poked fun at himself a little bit with I can only think Ivanhoe. What's his actual name?
Vanderho.
Vanderho. Where Vanderho, the first kind of incredibly philosophical thing that he says, where he's like, what if it's like just what if these because they find evidence that there have been other heist teams sent in before them who have failed and died, and he's like, what if these guys are us, you know, like look at them, like they're exactly like us, and like this we're just in a time loop where every time like we get close and then we
Yeah.
fail, and then you know we'll only find out the sick joke at the end and stuff, and it's like this whole thing, and like there's all these like flashes of images on the screen and like all this stuff happening, and then the reaction is just like cool.
Well, okay.
Whoa.
So he's kind of Zack Snyder he's kind of like having his cake and eating it too there.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely poking fun at himself a little bit. But so something I noticed
Uh-huh.
in the obligatory hot shirtless man digs a hole scene,
But of course.
he has an Omega tattoo on his chest.
Oh Christ.
Meaning, and he at the end of this film, spoiler alert,
Turns
we've been
into a
he's gonna be a zombie,
Yeah.
and they're going to Mexico City on that plane.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, I guess there is a sort of cyclical time loop with the Omega now being the new Alpha. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck. I was deeply angered by the ending.
Yeah.
Mainly because it had one of the worst needle drops in this entire movie.
When it plays zombie.
Yeah.
Not really unnecessary.
The cranberries don't deserve this. They
Right. I don't want to
deserve
hear
so much
anyone
better.
trash the cranberries, but
No, the cranberries are incredible. They're my favorite
song,
band.
A song called "Zombie" does not belong in a zombie
At
movie.
the end
No.
of a zombie movie,
Unless-
when everybody's dead.
Unless it's like something like "Warm Bodies," in which case you can.
Oh,
use,
sure,
you could use
for
the
sure.
cranberries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But like, it did not fit tonally or anything. The vibe was off. It was bad. It made me sad.
I think that might be my biggest qualm with most not my biggest qualm, but like probably the thing that annoys me the most about Zack Snyder movies is musical cues, needle drops that like, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that they do decrease the value of all the good ones, just the more that you stuff
Yeah,
more of
definitely.
them in. But talking about that kind of end sequence, so the movie wraps up exactly how you would think that it would probably, and then we get to the cut to black, and then the safe that the cool guy was stuck in
Man.
Yeah, that Hot Man was put in by cool German nerd to save him. The safe door in the middle of like this nuclear bombed out wasteland that used to be Vegas. Now that the nuke is dropped, the safe door opens up, and Everhope gets out, and he's like, "Hey, I'm still here," and he's got all the money, and that gave me such joy. And then it just keeps going, and you
Right.
know
Yeah.
where it's headed. Where he
Right.
gets a private plane, he's in the air, and then he starts to feel
He's
woozy,
acting a fool.
and then he looks at and he notices that he got bit in the past, which I don't even know when that would have happened and how he wouldn't have noticed. I don't know.
It must have been a tiny baby nibble by
No, but we see
Zeus.
it. It's like a
I
full
think
bite.
it's like at the end of when he was being pushed into the thing because he was having that fight with Zeus. I think he
Maybe,
might
but
have gotten
Zeus-
got a little bit.
But he didn't bite him at all. I maybe it was while he was bringing people in, or
it cuts like right before, like he's opening his mouth to bite him, and then it cuts. So it must have happened in that moment.
But I'm just imagining it's such funny like geography of it, where like because he's going for like the neck or something or like the arm.
No, he's
Yeah,
going
so
for
it's
the
on
arm.
his side.
So for him to just get like flipped over completely like upside down,
Yeah.
and then he just takes a quick bite out of the thigh and then drops him into the I don't know, man.
Right.
But it just bummed me
Hey,
out.
sequel's got a sequel, man.
Yeah, sequel's got a sequel. It's true.
Did you know that there were 2,500 prop skeletons used in this film
That's
Holy
awesome.
shit.
and 500 prop slot machines?
Okay,
love
one
that.
quick thing. One missed opportunity.
Yeah.
They do this. I think I really loved this moment. But they're walking into Vegas for the first time, and all of these like dried out shamblers, all these dried out zombies are all laying around. And Lily, the coyote, that character who I really like, says like, when it rains, they come back to life for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And I think that is awesome, and I wish they did it because it was so cool.
Yeah.
It's such
That
a
made
fucking
me so
cool
sad
idea.
that they didn't do it.
That's probably my biggest thing with this movie in general, is that it's just the words, "That's such a fucking cool idea," and I just don't think it hangs together as well as I'd like it to.
So the cool thing that I didn't know about until Nolan told me like a couple minutes into the movie is that Tig Notaro plays the helicopter pilot. She's a comedian. I really like her. And she's completely green screened into this movie.
Insane.
She has gone on record.
There's every shot that she's in with other people, and
Yes.
she was green screened into.
Crazy.
Yeah. It looks
I read
awesome.
an interview with her. You cannot tell.
No.
I
There's
read an
one
interview
shot
with
that
her.
I
not
noticed,
visually.
but-
yeah,
Yeah.
once you told me, I was like, okay, I can kind of see it. It wasn't as much seeing
really,
it.
though.
It wasn't as much seeing it. You could see it a little bit, and I think I know the shot you're talking about, but you could kind of
sort of
tell.
feel it.
You could feel it in some of the line readings where it does feel like she's just talking to a brick wall,
Yeah.
of like giving these like stand-up line deliveries. But I think
Right.
overall, crazy that it works.
And she's good. I think she's really good too.
yes,
I
no,
read an
100%.
interview with her, and she says she hasn't met most of the cast. She's met one person on the
Crazy.
cast,
Oh my
That's
god,
which
crazy.
is insane.
no, and she's so funny in it. She's
and
really
I'm
great.
really glad because I think that Crystalia in that role would have been
Distracting, very distracting.
just a
for
real
me, yeah.
boys club. Also,
Yeah.
like,
So wait, who was gonna be in that role?
It was Crystalia.
Crystalia.
What do I know him from?
He's a comedian. He was like a big deal in like the early 2010s. He was in Workaholics. He played Beaver Hole 69 in Workaholics. But
Okay,
he,
yeah.
basically, right after filming of this, there were a lot of
Summer
allegations
2020.
about him like messaging and harassing underage women. So
Jesus.
it was replaced with Tig Notaro, which was just a baller move.
Yeah.
Great choice in terms of a replacement in that scenario.
Better
They
choice from the
spent
start.
so much money getting her into this movie, and it was honestly worth it because I
Yeah.
think that she's incredible in this.
Yeah. Man, this movie got beat up during post, huh? Like
Yeah.
one of the actors
real.
turns out to be terrible. The migrant situation around
Yeah.
the Vegas
Yeah.
becomes horrible. Oy.
Yeah.
All of the
but,
score had to be recorded remotely as well.
Damn.
So-
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
hey, by the way, favorite line in this movie is probably when they're looking at a news report of the anchor talking about how the Vegas bombing is going to
Oh,
be
this is
happening on the
good.
4th of July, and there's a
Oh my
quote.
God,
there's a
yeah.
quote from the president that's like, "It's actually pretty patriotic if you think about it."
He says it's actually pretty patriotic if you think about it. I think it could be really cool.
Well, and also they said that the nuclear attack on Las Vegas to exterminate the undead population has been moved because detractors said it was, quote, a bad idea.
There's some really good jokes in this movie.
so
Also,
fucking funny.
That's why I just wanted it to be more. Parts of this almost felt like Suicide Squad to me, where it was like
Yeah.
the vibe of this should be so much more fun. Like, why are you bringing me down so much right now?
right. Well, I mean, like, there's when Dieter is like in his head, he's like picturing how it's gonna look when they get in there.
Yeah.
And it's doing like the big and that's also Zack Snyder making fun of himself to some
yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
The camera's circling around, and they're all badass, and then he goes, wait.
The fact that he's holding in that imagined part, he's holding like a bat with spikes in it. Like,
Right.
they,
He's like,
they
how
wouldn't
do I
give him
kill
a
a
gun.
zombie? He's so cute.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Did you think this was the best of the worst of the worst, or a guilty pleasure movie?
Damn.
I guess it fits into guilty pleasure for me. I just kind of I just like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I also don't know if I necessarily believe in quote unquote guilty pleasures. I think there's just pleasures. I don't think we need to have guilt about it.
Yeah, I think we talked about before, but changing it to just pleasures feels very uncomfortable to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I'd rather
I
I
think
will
I
also
can say, is this the best of the worst of the worst, or does it please you?
Does it please you, my lord?
let me give it the caveat. I'm gonna give it a caveat of I did see this in theaters. I've seen it
Yeah.
twice. I saw it in
yeah.
theaters, and then I watched it on Netflix for when we were gonna do this show. And so I think that the theater experience of it really like probably boosted it some.
Oh, yeah, this would be great in theaters.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
I
lot
feel
of
that.
fun.
I'm gonna say it's a guilty pleasure simply because I want to recommend this to friends, but I cannot legally do that when the movie is as long as it is.
I cannot legally do that when the actual apocalypse is caused by someone giving roadhead. Can't do it.
Yeah, that's
Simply
also a thing that happens in this movie. I can't ask somebody to watch that. So, if I could throw this in premiere and cut 45 minutes out of it, then it would be great. But I call it a guilty pleasure.
You know what's really incredible? I was just thinking about this whole time, is that if someone hasn't seen this movie and is just hearing us talk about it, what I just said, what?
Yeah. Yeah, the first 10 minutes of this movie are the apocalypse starting because a guy got roadhead.
Yeah, a
from
guy
his
got
girlfriend.
distracted while his someone's giving him roadhead, and they hit a truck that's carrying a zombie, and it turns over. I would say,
Christ.
God, I don't know. We should have a category that's just like, would you let me rewrite?
Let me do it again.
Do
it differently.
Because and that sounds shitty. Like, I don't think I'm better at writing than anyone who wrote this, but I think that it's so close to being there, and there's just these things that make it really hard for me to call it a full-on kind of guilty pleasure or best of the worst.
Yeah.
I will, though. I'll go with guilty pleasure, but with some caveats, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like one more round of notes on this bad boy and it would have been stellar, but
Yeah.
Is there any other small thing that you loved about this movie that we haven't covered yet? Because I feel like there's little bits that we've maybe skipped over.
I think it's well shot, and as a film composer, I can say that now. I love the score. I think Tom Junkie XL, Tom Holkenborg, he's going by Tom Holkenborg now.
Yeah.
Did a wonderful job.
Ooh, I've got one. I like that this movie includes the my favorite trope in the world, which is the hero drops his weapons in order to engage in an honorable fist fight with the villain.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I will also
It's
say
so good.
I think the alphas when they're fighting are pretty fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like when they're when they're dodging bullets, like oh god, like that's horrifying.
Also, all the
A zombie
zombies
that can move that fast.
Also, all the zombies run. They do the Naruto run. Why?
Yeah.
They do.
Did nobody
It kinda
notice that
rules.
that's what they were doing?
Two little bits that I enjoyed deeply. Dave Bautista talks about food trucks a lot, and I really like that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. His last lines
is
are
precious.
before he dies are about lobster rolls.
Yes, I think that is very valid, and it makes me want to hug him very much. Also, I like that Tig Notaro's character, like, first gets to see, like, this little model of the helicopter when they're getting, like, the rundown of the heist, and then she sees the actual helicopter, and they're like, they spent more money on the goddamn model.
Yeah, that is a great line.
It's really good.
A little
Drunk out of
Star Wars reference in there too. She
Yeah.
says, "What a piece of junk."
Yeah.
It's delightful. Drunk out of 5, boys.
I give it like in terms of there are sections of it that would be like a 5 out of 5 on the drunk scale.
Yeah.
And then there are sections of it that are like a 0, so I just got a 2.5.
It's just the tonal whiplash makes it like it's like I'm watching two movies at once with two wildly different drunk scores. Where like the parts that are a zombie movie, I guess don't, because maybe you'll like get really in your head and sad. But like the parts that are a heist movie, like 5. So yeah, I guess 2.5. I don't know.
I think some of the zombie violence would be sick if you were drunk.
I'm including that in the
Yes.
fun parts.
Okay,
I'm gonna call it a 4 simply because I think being like pretty tipsy will make the slower, more boring parts go a little faster and make the awesome parts awesomer.
Yeah, maybe you'll be talking to your friends while the like really sad stuff is happening.
Right. I mean, like you can talk through that stuff, and you are not really missing anything in terms of understanding and enjoying the movie. So
this does fall into a section of movies that I kind of feel is the I wish the movie was more like the poster.
Yeah, the poster rules.
I wish there's more neon and more ridiculousness and more like not having to watch a husband stab his wife slowly in the head.
Yeah, that hurt.
it did hurt.
Zack Snyder, give us more poster time. Give us more poster fun.
Yeah, give me more posters. Just posters. I'll just watch
just
those.
more posters. Just mail me some.
I'm excited to see more from this universe for sure. I'm excited to see what else they do. I'm definitely excited to see the stuff about Dieter, the German locksmith. That's
Very
gonna
down.
be a lot of fun.
Very down for
That's
that.
super cool. And if you'd like to see more from the Ghoul School universe, you can follow us on Instagram at Ghoul School Pod and email us at ghoulschoolofficial@gmail.com. You can listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, and watch us on YouTube. Brian does cool edits. It kind of fucking rules. Anywhere you find podcasts, you can find us. So tell a friend. That'll be it for us, babes.
The Ghoul School universe is actually just the Dark universe. This takes place in the same universe as Tom Cruise's The Mummy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Dr. Henry Jekyll has been after me for years. He'll never get to me, though. He'll never get to me.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Dear. Have a good one. Bye.
Good night.
It seems another period is at an end, but don't forget that I expect all your zombie heist plans on my desk by next Friday. Extra credit if you're heisting the zombies themselves, minus points if the heist turns out to just be an elaborate method of reconnecting with an estranged loved one. Until then, I do hope you've enjoyed tonight's lesson in terror!